Hello everyone, welcome to today's class, and our title today is Shock, S-U-A. Let's move on to language focus. 1번. The scariest scenario is one where the accelerator is not being pressed at all, but the car accelerates anyway because of some electrical failure. So anyway is what we are going to look at today. We use anyway to indicate that something happens despite some expectation that it shouldn't. Okay, so let's talk about what anyway means. And let me show you what I prepared earlier. Ta-da! Okay, so let's have a look here. Anyway can mean a few different things, right? We can use it as 게다가. 게다가 지금은 시간도 너무 늦었어요. It's too late now anyway. But I think we're going to focus on this one. 그래도 물이 찼다. 그래도 나는 샤워를 했다. The water was cold, but I took a shower anyway. So it indicates something that happens despite some expectation that it should not. Usually you don't have a cold shower, right? It's not normal. You would have a warm shower. It also means 그런데 그건 그렇고 이제 가봐야겠다. 내일 봐. So, I'll see you tomorrow kind of thing. Anyway, I'll see you tomorrow. And also 어쨌든, which it can also mean in this situation. So let's have a look at our examples today. I told my nephew not to tell that joke, but he did it anyway. 조카한테 그런 농담 하지 말라고 했는데 어쨌든 해줬어요. So maybe it was a rude joke, or maybe it was a dirty joke, but he still told the joke anyway. Or, Tony exercised every day and ate plenty of vegetables, but he gained weight anyway. So Tony는 매일 운동하고 야채를 많이 먹었지만 살이 쪘다. 어쨌든. Well, I think Tony might be cheating. So in this situation, we've used 어쨌든 in our two sort of examples, but I believe it's also this example as well. Right, now let's move on to 2번. 2번, as electronic systems continue to improve, problems like this should become even less common. Okay, so we're going to look at the word should today. Now, we use should to express that you think something is likely to happen, but you're not completely sure. It is similar in meaning to will probably, 할 것 같아요. Notice that the meaning is different from must or have to. So, this is another situation where I've had to prepare something for you. Well, I prepare everything for you for these classes. Ta-da! Should. So let's look at 1번. Like we said, notice that the meaning is different from must or have to. 해야 한다. Example, 운전 하지 말아야 한다. You shouldn't drink and drive. You must not. You should not drink and drive. But in this situation that we're going to use today, it's like 아마 일 것이다. 우리가 어두워지기 전에 도착할 수 있을 것이다. Which means we should arrive before dark. So this is the one that we'll be focusing on today. Okay, so let's look at the example sentences. Number 1 here says, if you study the material and take a few practice tests, you should do just fine on the exam. 자료를 공부하고 연습 시험을 몇 번 치르면 시험을 잘 볼 것이다. So you will probably do well if you study hard. Next one. We caught an early bus, but and there's not much traffic, so we should arrive on time. 우리는 이른 버스를 탔고 차가 많이 막히지 않아서 제 시간에 도착할 것이다. So remember, it is different from this should. Alright, now let's move on to the language focus quiz. 1번. Told not to, but they did it anyway. So remember, anyway, 어쨌든, and then we could also use like 그래도 as well. Okay, so what did I prepare? I told the students not to, but they did it anyway. 나는 학생들에게 하지 말라고 말했지만 학생들은 어쨌든 그것을 했다. Maybe I said, don't play on the tables or something like that, and they still did it. 2번, is not perfect, but I like it a lot anyway. My car is not perfect, but I like it a lot anyway. 내 차는 완벽하진 않지만 어쨌든 나는 그것을 많이 좋아해요. Okay, moving on to 3번. There's no way to know for sure, but I think should be okay. Okay, should. Remember, we're not talking about 해야 한다. We're talking about 아마 뭐뭐일 것이다. So, there's no way to know for sure, but I think should be okay. Say the weather. So, 확실히 알 방법은 없지만 날씨는 괜찮을 것 같습니다. So, yes, it's very unpredictable, the weather. And 4번, if you should have no problem with let's just keep it simple. If you study hard, you should have no problem with the test. So 공부를 열심히 하면 시험에 문제가 없을 거예요. Alright, now let's move on to the further discussion. 1번. In your opinion, which countries produce the best cars? What is your impression of Japanese automakers? 생각하기에 어느 나라가 가장 좋은 차를 생각하는가? 일본 자동차 회사들에 대한 당신의 인상은 어떠한가? Let me just tell you what my opinion is when I was living in Australia. So Toyota, the Japanese car brand, was known to be extremely reliable. My first car was a Toyota Corona. It was like 1983 model or something like that. And it lasted a very long time. And though it was very old, it was easy to fix. And they were very reliable. I have a very good opinion on Japanese cars. To be honest with you, they're supposed to be known as one of the most reliable cars in the world. But I drive a Kia, and I love my Kia. I really do, and I'm not just saying that because obviously there's a no Japan protest that is happening every so often. But yeah, I really love my Kia. So far, I've had a few recalls of my car, but I haven't had any problems so far, so that's really good. 2번. The article says to avoid hitting trees or poles, if you're involved in a SUA situation, why is it dangerous to hit these objects? Okay, 그 기사는 만약 여러분이 SUA 상황 관련되어 있다면 나무나 기둥을 치는 것을 피하려고 말합니다. 왜 이 무채를 치는 것이 위험한가요? Is that really a question? Like, of course you should avoid hitting trees or poles. Because, you should try and avoid hitting anything, to be honest with you. However, that would not be the that would be impossible. Yes, you shouldn't hit trees or poles because they will basically split the car in half, especially if you're going at a very high speed. You'll definitely probably almost definitely always die if you hit a pole at 100 kilometers an hour. You'd be very lucky not to die. I think the safest way would be trying to stop it by pushing up against like a wall. Like, how sometimes you see in the tunnels, right? Maybe you'd try and push the car up against the wall, or you'd push it up against like a guardrail. It's not a great situation, but it's better than dying, I guess. By the way, that's not the right answer. Don't do that if this happens to you. Please actually look it up. I don't want to be the person to be responsible for something bad happening to you, but that's what I would probably do. Anyway, that wraps it up for today, and I'll see you on the next lesson.
Accelerator.
Accelerator.
Get in the way.
Get in the way.
Recall.
Recall.
Last resort.
Last resort.
Unoccupied.
Unoccupied.
An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.